What's good, Unapologetic Gang? So I'm just shooting off at the hip here, but I wanted to talk to you about the promise and how God is planning to rebuild our trust. So many of us have received, countless prophetic words, and some we've seen come to pass, but promises. In the past, one prophetic word said, I see you writing down where every expense is going to go. That literally came to pass. Some of the prophetic words about what's going to happen in society seem to come to pass. In regards to COVID, in regards to, hey, there's going to be times where we're not going to be able to get any water. There's going to be times where things are going to be, supremely hard for a lot of people. And it's maybe best to keep extra blankets or boiled water on hand at all times. But what about the personal ones? What about the ones where, God promises that we or you would be a lender to many nations and not a borrower? And you're like, God, you promised I would not be a borrower, but I'm literally borrowing money. Yes, I got an advance, but I'm literally borrowing money. Yes, I got an SBA advance or a loan, but I'm literally borrowing money. Or, it's not good for man to be alone. Okay, but you said that my situation was coming soon or any day now, but that was 2 years ago. How many years, how much longer is that going to take? What is that starting to look like for me? Because I'm getting to the point where I'm my faith is a little bit low. Now, I didn't want to have to admit this, honestly, because I want to always be up in the spirit and just, remind myself of how amazing God is and all the things that I'm continuing to do and move forward. But this was one of those situations where I was genuinely like, where was it? Where is the promise? Like, you all, what happened, God? What happened? So into the new year, I fasted for, by the time, from midnight to midnight. I prayed with corporate prayer, and then I ate. And by that time, I was just kind of I fasted even though I didn't want to. My faith was literally, you guys, it was so low. My faith was so low. And I'm like, God, what happened? I want to be excited, but by the time I was hearing prophetic words coming into the new year, it was literally going in one ear and out the other, to the point where I was like, okay, I'll let my spirit listen, but I can't let my soul hear this. If my heart hears this, I was literally so sad. I was so depressed. And I don't like to be like that in the presence of God. This is my Yahweh. This is my Jehovah Gabor. This is my Alpha and Omega. This is my beginning and end. This is the Creator that knew me before I was born. So I didn't want to feel like this. I'm like, God, I want to revel and just, love the fact that you're a good, good Father. I love that. I love you, Jesus. And it had just gotten to the point where I was just, you guys, I sat into the new year and I was listening to all these prophetic words, and I was like, yep, okay. Almost so disappointed. You know how somebody has thin lips and you say something and they're like, no, it's okay. And even worse when a woman says fine, F-I-N-E. I mean, she's freaked out about it. F, insecure. I, N, neurotic, or E, emotional. And I was all four. I was fine come New Year. Now, I had gotten to a place of almost a very pit. It was literally the pit. I shared about this in the spirit of compare. So I had gotten to the point where I was literally frustrated. I came into the new year sad, super depressed. I really didn't want to, I was just really depressed. I had somebody pray for me, and I got a prophetic word which was timely. And that, when you're already super low or you're just hurting and someone comes with a prophetic word and says, this time tomorrow or in 5 days, things are just, I see a turnaround. Usually what would take, years is going to happen for you in one day. It's going to happen in 5 days. And my faith at that point, we're so desperate, it feels painful. It feels almost like some of these people, maybe they don't mean to, but they're playing with our emotions. They're playing with our soul. They're playing with our spirit. And I've seen this a lot on YouTube, but back to feeling frustrated, like, my God, you promised you would do a lot of these things. You promised you would supply my needs, and I literally am scared. Now, I do want to give a testimony because I talked about something in the last podcast, or one of the last 2 podcasts, and I was talking about how I was literally waiting for a check and I had some reserve, but you guys, sometimes being on edge and being in business and being on your own or being in a new country or just taking a leap doesn't mean it's completely padded. There's moments where I know God did not give us this spirit, but anxiety comes. It's moments of just like, okay, well, what's going to happen next? I just took everything I have, and I know the book of Matthew, it says not to worry, not to worry about what we're going to eat or what we're going to wear. And, if all the sparrows have it, is our life not more than sparrows? But here I go with the but. It's scary. And I had been in this place where I was literally in such anxiety because I was walking around like, God, if nothing happens, then what next? Do you know, people started providing for me? I was a lot, it's sometimes in these situations we're a lot more open, and our heart is like, we may be talking to God in our heart because we're in the middle of a mall or we're getting our nails done or something, and we can't just openly just be crying, or, sometimes I just do talk to God the same way I'm talking to you guys, and I'll just I'll leave my house. But things, and remember, our blessings and some of the things that we want are tied to different people. And so the people are, when they come to us, this is what happened. I had finished paying for my hotel, and I thought, oh my gosh, I need to go back to wherever it is I'm coming from. I'm expecting a huge check from the IRS. It has not come yet. It's been delayed. And I needed to put that in something that is very timely. And God sent a person. I just met her like that day or 2 days prior. And she's like, oh, hey, where are you from? You can always stay at my house. I said, what? She said, yeah, I've had a lot of people stay with me. I said, what? The very next day, like, this was not happening prior to that. But yes, I'm knocking the table to make a point. The very next day. So this is my testimony. And then I had gotten to the point where I had literally almost no money. And I was maybe down to a little bit. I mean, this is what happens, guys. Not everybody people talk about the flourishing aspects of traveling. People talk about the flourishing aspects of entrepreneurship. People talk about the flourishing aspects of being creative. But the truth is, there's going to be times where everything is poured into your company and maybe you don't have anything. But just walking, I was heading out, and this guy starts flagging me down. And he's like, come over here, come get something. I said, what? He takes me, he was outside of one of the most expensive coffee shops and said, get whatever you want. What do you want? I was like, oh my gosh, what? So it's true that God will supply our needs. However, again, when it comes to the promise, that's what's scary. That's the part that somebody's coming in a shopping cart. But this becomes the point where it is scary, it's stressful, it's anxiety-ridden. And it gets to the point where sometimes I just don't even understand myself. Sometimes I sit and wonder, like, okay, God, what happened? So this is where I'm speaking to, for most of us who are in that space of just being like, okay, God, you promised. Where are you? What happened? I need you. Show up for me. Father, my God, you are my Alpha, my Omega. I need you now. Sometimes it's getting to the point where this whole year, it's just been promises, and I guess I never understood that until I got to the space where I am now. Now, I talk a lot about other people and how they had been given their own prophetic words. And one of them said, sometimes we can have an unspoken beef with God. that like, where's the promise? And we really don't want to keep coming that way. But I'd seen this myself, getting countless, again, prophetic words that something would happen in the next 8 weeks. If I was obedient, I would see certain things. So it became something I started internalizing. Oh my gosh, did I not fast the right way? Should I have spent like maybe 2 hours in prayer instead of 1? Or the 3 hours, was that not enough? Maybe I didn't worship properly. Was the music not good enough? Maybe there was something I didn't understand about that word. Am I not reading the right scripture? Should I have read it and like kept memorizing it? Was not reading it enough? And it gets to the point, well, how come all of these other people are seeing success and they're fasting, or, all these people who have YouTube channels, and then all these people come up with testimonies. I did the same thing. Why am I experiencing lack? And it becomes a thing that becomes so internalized and frustrating and angry, and just, if I had it, would I not just be a little bit happier? Would certain pieces and aspects not work out? This is how I had become. So I understand there's a process and how, in the grand order of things, in the grand order of design. But the heart just feels, and the soul is just kind of like, it's like telling if God knows we are little kids, which is my heart, it's like telling a little kid, we're going to Disney World. Okay, God knows we're coming to him with childlike hearts. So God, I'm ready to go to Disney World. But God says, no, you have to wait 10 years and you'll get to go to Disney World. I feel like sometimes it can be a very frustrating space. And I'm not knocking people in the prophetic, because I too am prophetic. I too have the ability to hear. I think we all do. But it comes very frustrating when it comes to timelines. And it's sometimes, if we don't want to hear something, sometimes I wonder, as I'm starting to understand and dissect the ways of God and the complexities of God and how God works and moves inside of us. And it just feels like, God, you just straight up told me that my situation would change. And you said very soon. So does that mean I'm going to be like my friend who's waiting 10 years for that to pass, and I'm having a childlike heart and faith? Like, yeah. Well, why didn't it come? And I feel like God knows we're kids. God knows we're human. God knows we have emotion. So I just get confused about some of the complexities of what is in the heart of God. Now, can I tell you, I went and confronted this. I went and confronted the person who I prayed with. We're from the same home country. And I said, I'm not calling you false, because I know being mad at a prophet may kind of be like being mad at God, and I really don't want that. But bro, you gave me a time. You told me, I was very upset. I said, it's the middle of January and we prayed on the 21st, and you told me in 5 days something is going to change. And can I ask you why you told me that? Can I I'm not mad. I just want to know, why would you give me a time frame if you knew it was just, you were prophesying because that's what you wanted to speak? It's different to speak into my life and say I'm prophesying and say I'm going to speak life into you, or no, God is showing me this. I feel like that might also be an area that's nuanced. And he kind of was like, it's not that you're calling me false. I was very clear about that. I want to understand, because it's not like I'm you. I haven't been pastoring for years. In my years, I am but an infant, and I'm like a babe in the eyes of the Lord. But in other areas, I'm quite advanced. But in the area of the prophetic, in the prophetic realm, as I'm getting deeper to understanding how God works, how God's speaking to his prophets, I just want to know, because I don't understand. And he began to talk to me about Daniel, and if I read my Bible, I would understand this or that. And his job was just to speak what was in the heart of God. So you mean to tell me God changed his heart? I mean, I'm so new and confused and trying to understand how this works, at the same time wanting to present a very strong front so I can talk to people about Christ. But these are questions that if we don't ask questions and to begin to process, and then just out of curiosity, not out of wanting to necessarily condemn anyone and just like, well, look, bro, I'm not saying you're false, but it didn't happen. Can you tell me what happened? Can you tell me why? Because I had gotten these words before. Can you tell me what's going on with that? So I just feel like in a lot of times when I'm prophesying to other people, I'm not going to give anybody any time limit. I've been told something before, like 2 times, hey, by this time next year, your whole situation's going to change. And, so if you're in this space too, I want you to know you're not alone. And I feel like this is also even a part of the journey of faith. I feel like all of it is very frustrating. That's not a joke to joke around about that. Sometimes it's frustrating that some of the people we pray for don't get healed or delivered, or nothing happens, nothing manifests. Sometimes even when I'm looking at the children of Israel, when Moses freed them, when Moses took them out of Egypt to the promised land, they were all frustrated. It took how many years? More than 4 months that should have been, to go from one place to the next, from Egypt to, it just is frustrating, right? And then frustrating following Christ. When we look at all of the disciples never, it was just frustrating. Jesus is gone half of the time. We're looking for Jesus. Has anybody seen Jesus? Jesus is up in the mountains praying. And you're just like, come on, where's the Sermon on the Mount? We were supposed to do this. So I do feel like it's not bad to say that you're frustrated. This is my first learning hump. And the second is that, it's not bad to say, to be lost in our feelings, and to also be confused and genuinely want to know, what happened, God? I feel like there's so many complexities, not just in this, but dreams. Dreams are also quite frustrating because there's so many levels. Is God speaking to us in a dream literally, or is it like messages? So we have to ask God to really start to peel back. And is it a demon? Did it come from God, or did it come from our soul? It's not so straight with God. It's very frustrating. Even the way that when Jesus spoke in parables, sometimes it's like some of us are straight shooters. Just tell me how it is, right? So it's just frustrating. I just want to tell you you're not alone, and I also want to let you know that all things will come to pass in their timing. And I also know that hope deferred makes the heart sick. So it's a delicate balance. It's a delicate balance. You guys stay strong. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast, and I'll see you on the next episode. God bless you. Bye.